Hi Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising, and welcome to your August 2025 Leo season reading. There's a lot of notes, there's a lot of change, there's a lot going on. So for some of you, if you've had struggles with migraines or issues with the head of your body, we had the eclipses last year in Libra and Aries, and those have since changed and shifted, even though we feel like the after effect because it's still energy and it's still there. But we also have Neptune and Saturn retrograde in your opposing sign. So regardless of where that is in your unique chart, it's still affecting you. And so it's maybe affecting your sleep. It may be affecting your mental health, or your sinuses, your eyes, your ears, your mouth, whatever it is in that area of your body. So before I even get into the cards, even though this literally confirms what I just said, it's really important to listen to yourself and listen to your mind. So most signs, I would say, listen to your body, and you do. You need to listen to your body. But right now, your mind is going to give you the signal when you need more rest. So if you've been experiencing any migraines or nausea, that could happen across the board, but essentially any just shifts in this area of the body, I would just pay attention to it and trust that slowing down is not disrupting your pace or your process. It's actually going to enhance perhaps your process and maybe even give messages to you that you couldn't have known without tending to yourself in this way. The Four of Swords says there's something that is wanting to be awakened through you, through your unconscious. And a lot of times what happens before that happens is that it manifests through messages that we're unaware of, but they're still in our field, yet we're still focused. Our perspective or our focus is still directed somewhere else. It could be that there's many layers to a trauma, to a specific pattern, which can also go together because astrology shows us that humans go through patterns. And as a sign that is the only sign represented by an inanimate object, the reminder that you're human is going to come from me to you regularly, especially whether you need it or not. I think that when you listen to this, you may need it. And to know that you go through cycles, and sometimes in one way or another, you could have been able to correct so easily. Like one thing happens, you get feedback and you correct and you shift. And it's beautiful to be able to do that. But when is that related to something that had happened or needing to adjust for others? And that actually relates to the last few months of our readings together, which was about learning to value yourself and not, and just a reminder to be able to allow others to suffer. Allow yourself to also honor your own suffering, your own pain, and acknowledge that. And a lot of it could have been mental, and it could have been both, but the mental is what is perhaps the long lasting, or has arisen in the past years. Whenever it has arose, it's time to address it. And that's why I come back to that. What we started with is tending to listening to your mind, and then tending to yourself. Because it's, regardless if we do this conversation when we talk about the head and the body separately, they're not separate, especially because the mind is a huge part of the nervous system. The brain, everything transmutes through the brain. So, and I did that little because we know, but it's about actually proceeding with what we know when we really need it. Not just knowing it, and maybe you need it at a one time. Again, this comes back to that one time. You may need to be more repetitive. You may be able to adjust through the mechanics of your life very well, but with yourself and with your healing, it's also allowing yourself to truly adjust and let yourself go through whatever it is that you need to go through with mentally, to understand that that's a part of the repetition the brain needs, the repetition that the nervous system needs. You don't just do it. You do it, and it's about maintaining. It's about learning to know that anytime you go through something in your life, because this is many layers, and we have layers of self here written down. The many layers of yourself, what is perhaps the message that reveals to you, and this could be from if you connect to the divine or your authentic self. For others of you, it's about learning to speak up for yourself and speak up for, or speak to, or speak from the place and the part of you that was. Now, I don't know about you, but this contemplation of how much who you once were, or whatever part of you that is truly being let go of, and interestingly enough, came up and it's written down as the value of letting go, is a big part of, and going to be the title of your reading. And the value of letting go, it brings you to this heightened awareness of your authenticity in a way where, going to the most simplest thing with Libra, is making decision. How weird. I was thinking about this today. I was thinking about a moment that I had recently with my mother. She's a Libra, and it was just like a simple moment. It wasn't anything crazy, but it relates to many areas of your life where if you're indecision about something, and this was in the case of and funnily enough, about water, so let's go with it, whether she wanted to sit down out of the pool or go in the pool. And I don't know why that came up with me today, because that was a while ago, but what comes up with that reminds me of if you choose, what you can do in that moment is choose one and then change it. If you don't feel like sitting anymore, you go in the pool, right? It's once you just decide, and that's how you can make a decision. Now, is it that easy for everything? Because if you're spending money, investing in something, investing time, energy, money, it's just about say for example, you're switching up the time that you, I don't know why, buy groceries or do certain things or work out. You've done it in the morning and you've been thinking about trying it in the afternoon, and then you realize you can just alternate, right? Nothing has to be truly set in stone. And that's something that coming back to that repetition, that speaking up for your needs or your desires, what you find there actually is the biggest part of your transformation. Maybe you do need reminders. Maybe there's someone in your life that could be a reminder for you, but really this is learning to listen to the message of what happens when you let go of what is trying to go anyway. What happens when you can learn to surrender to that, to what you know. And to learn that every time you surrender, and this is something, if you can roll with me here. So if you have ideas and you have different projects and there's all these separate things that you want to do, or there's all these separate interests, for some of you, you might really relate to wanting to bring things together. And a part of this is letting go through an art form. So for some of you, Libra rising specifically, my notes are right here, through your 10th house, there's a lot of activity. So Venus is going to move there tonight after I do this reading, but this will come out the day it is in motion, so tomorrow. And on the 30th, particularly, in the eves, and late evening, depending on where you live, into the eves of the night, whatever. And so trying to be poetic and just fucking it up. Yeah, it's perfect timing. Your 10th house, so your career and your role that you play in this public image that you have in the grand scheme of your life from everyone that you know. So what's happening here is you're getting a lot of energy, but something else I'm going to repeat is what you want to be responsible for. And then we're going to pull from the bottom of the deck because we have oppositions here. And I think that would be important because the Aquarius moon is also coming up. So this is about the journey from now until then. And that's the 9th. So it's over a week. And so the 10th house is being lit up by Jupiter and now Venus for about a month. And so it's going to double down on what do you want to be responsible for in your life, in your career, in your role. If you find yourself shifting and you don't know what to let go of, it's learning to ask the divine, your higher power. Maybe you literally need to ask for help in your life, but ask for help to be guided. Right? This is where you deeply connect. To be guided by what you need to let go of. And what will show up is you realizing that whether it's through expression, finding more joy and making joy or expression a focus, the part of you that innately knows things but can also experience the wide range that life has to offer. And deciding that this role or whatever you want to be playing next, or this version that you're being guided into, wasn't necessarily what you thought it would be. But it's knowing that there's perhaps a greater purpose for this time, that this understanding that you have is being also exposed through the people around you. You find yourself being exposed to where it is that you need to ask for support and what about connection brings you joy or brings more love or brings more abundance and expansion in your life. So things that are shifting aren't going to make logical sense, which is why listening to your brain's needs and tending to them, because I've also come across something through my own experimentation with like how I eat in this journey, and sometimes it's intuitive, sometimes like the full moon cycle, for example. This always stuck with me. For people who like to be more intuitive, they're not as regimented, and learning to just flow with your body and its needs and simplifying your life in some way, if you're ever curious, is learning to know that just like the moon, it ebbs and flows. So when we're coming up to a new moon, you might feel like you don't want to eat as much, you don't want to be as full. You find yourself pulling back from that. And then a full moon, you could find yourself feeling fuller, or your schedule feeling fuller, life feeling so much like more. So that's a good way to kind of look at also your energy levels at times, especially this month, and what you actually have energy for. And knowing that that can also change again. And I think giving yourself permission to shift as you shift will really help maintain the kind of flexibility you would like in your brain in your day-to-day life. Now, is that an easy process? Not necessarily, but it can become easier the more that you attune to that, as much as you can, right? For as much as you can allow that kind of change in your life now, because these layers is about finding a greater wholeness in your life and stability in your foundations, and trusting that life is supporting you as well. Because the 8 of Swords and the Star next to each other signifies that, and this is coming back to what I said earlier, is that expression or writing, right, or communicating in some kind of way, communicating through whatever medium you choose, can be really healing for your intuition and providing all the information you need to be so confident in yourself that whatever pain you went through became a portal for your joy, for the kind of support you need from yourself, and how that then helps you learn to be supported by others and by life as well. That human things need to be tended to, the brain needs to be tended to, that the heart benefits from this, that your whole body, your whole life, your soul benefits from this. And those layers, okay, so Aquarius, I should have connected, didn't. But Libra rising is Aquarius, that's your 5th house of creativity, romance, pleasure, children. The sun comes out, maybe like there is more, you get more in touch with that playful side. Actually, perfect timing for this to come up. Another family story around my nieces recently. And the theme of the day when we were playing was be more play. So how being playful with yourself can be a big service to you now, because your communication is really coming from an authentic place. And when you're connected to your heart, there's just so much power in that, because there's so much love, right? There's so much understanding of love in creation. And now you feel, perhaps you're learning to feel, or coming into the feeling of being able to create the boundaries that you need so that you can grow and expand in the ways that you would desire or you're being guided to. And that as we let go of whatever separate creations we were making, and maybe your time has changed, maybe something in your life is shifting where you're going to have to change your time management for your life, and then all of a sudden perhaps you let go of something like we were talking about earlier. I'm sorry if I didn't connect this, so many ways to go, and something new comes of it. That it's just like doing a certain career, something, a job, or a certain way of living for so long if you're married, right? And then you shift that. You shift to something happens where it's shifted, and all of a sudden life will ultimately look different in some way, shape, or form. Or something is being created from the letting go. Like nothing that you did was wasted or will be wasted. It will just be transformed and transmuted because you've come a long way. So the value of letting go is becoming more yourself, even if that means saying some of the hard things and being not honest because for any other reason but answering a question, really being who you are. And again, if you look back and allow yourself to reflect, or if it's during your creation process, you will realize how much joy you do deserve. And regardless of that, you still deserve joy. But for those of you who need to be reminded, we have the Tower in reversed. All signs a go. This allows you to be in your new life. That even though you are moving on and there are still things being integrated, there are still feelings happening, communications. It's the viral thing actually I've loved recently. I don't know, maybe you haven't seen it, but it's that you can be happy as you heal. And I think other people may have gotten that down, but I think that's something I need to remind you, and maybe not, that you can be joyful while you heal. That the Tower coming up in reverse is like things are actually coming together even though you're letting go. The confidence in the knowing that no matter what you do next and what's created from there, the confidence and the wholeness is all about you. That you feel connected to that, to the knowing that you have something to bring to the world that you truly care about and have all the confidence in, and trusting that people will come along, that you will be supported. Because what this is showing us, simplifying all this, is that connecting to yourself is connecting to all the versions that you have been, not just your inner child, but all the versions of you that you've been, and all that's what's kept you from a greater joy, if that's what you're looking for, or greater love or connection in your life, and then allowing yourself to have it. That's the value of letting go, is letting yourself have that and be in that experience regardless of what's going on around you. I actually made a joke to myself as a Libra sun, if you're new here, that of course things would be coming together internally as other things are falling apart. And is it really falling apart if I'm choosing to let go and shine my own light? And really being yourself and letting yourself glow from the inside out. Trusting that you have something and you already are offering the world something valuable, or your life and yourself. And feeling committed to that process. Because funnily enough, I wrote about being whole, and then we have the wreaths here. And then we have the full circle of the sun. Trusting yourself, trusting everything's coming together, trusting that you asked for something and receiving it means letting go. We're here, Libra. We're here. There's so much going on. Mars is also going to be moving into your first house as September starts, and we'll talk about it, because this is definitely some preparation for there. And that's why the subconscious healing perhaps is happening and being communicated to you, because Libra rising, you have Mars in the 12th right now, and that's the subconscious and the sorrow. And I was just like talking about that and learning, and just like honor your pain that you had and know that it got you here, more connected to yourself spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally, regardless of the order. That it's all intertwined and connected, and it's not rigid. You know, your flow, some people's flow can't be just pinpointed. It can't be jot down. It can't be structured. It can't be put in a program. Like, maybe it will be someday, and maybe there are different things you can do, but it's like, sometimes it's always altering and changing. Like, this structure works now, maybe it's just listening to your process, listening to yourself, trusting that you know what you want for yourself, and also letting go, revealing yourself, woohoo. We're going to get more into the second part and talk about all of this. And all information to work with me is below, one-on-one. You can find payment options, scheduling link, all that there. I got into the metaphysics a little. You heard me talk about different body parts, but of course we're going to address that as well. Looking forward to connecting more with you, Libra. So if you feel inclined, please like, subscribe, share this with a fellow Libra or someone that knows Libra, just if you feel connected to a season of letting go. Okay? We will see you next